Hey guys, Dinosaur Magic here, and we are just a couple days away from the Rivals of Ixalan pre-release. I always love sealed because, well, it's usually even playing field, kind of depends upon your card pool, but it does come down to more deck building and playing skill, which is why I tend to win it. And of course I enjoy it twice as much because the stupid net deckers who rely on other people's work and honestly aren't even that good at the game do horrifically badly at these events. Everybody thinks they're some kind of hot pro until they show up to a pre-release and get stomped. Anyway, if you don't want that to be you, or if you want to participate in the stomping on these stupid net decking douchebag pro wannabes, here's the best cards from Rivals of Ixalan for limited. And yeah, I might have missed a couple, and I purposely skipped the obvious ones like Planeswalkers. Yes, if you can get a Planeswalker, oh, good for you. And I also skipped every single card that's two-color because the probability of you being able to play that is practically zero, so it's basically a dead card in your pool. Oh, needless to say, don't build your entire deck over one card. If you have one really good duel like a Planeswalker or something, it's not worth ruining your deck. You have 39 other cards, and you're not even going to see that card in most matches. So first up, we've got Bishop of Binding. This is a creature that is also a removal spell. You can't get much better than that. Really, the only thing better is recurring removal, and there actually is some of that. So when it enters battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield, which it's a downside, but okay. And then whenever it attacks target vampire, which it can target itself, so it's a self-contained mechanic, gets +X until end of turn, where X is the power of the exiled card. So the bigger the badder creature that you get rid of, the more this hits them hard, and you could easily get like a 6/6 for 4 out of this. So all in one card, all for 4 mana, you can get rid of the biggest threat while also becoming the biggest threat simultaneously. No combo required, no, like top decking, no nothing. No extra mana, it's just, here it is, I just turned the whole game around. So this card is amazing. Unfortunately, it's a rare, which is a little bit of a problem. Pay very close attention to the best of the best commons, not even uncommons, because do the math. You get 3 per pack, but there's more of them than rares, so it's not that much better. But commons, I mean, you get, what, 10, 11 of those, something like that? I lost track of how many are actually in a booster after they started adding flip cards and crap. But I had to include this because you definitely do not want to overlook it and say, oh, it's a 1/1 for 4, and then they get their creature back. Forget that. Next up, the only equipment worth looking at in this entire set, if I'm not mistaken. I did kind of fall asleep in the middle of picking these cards out, so I probably missed a couple. But Captain's Hook, +2 in Menace. It's also a pirate, who cares? Tribal is not going to happen. You know that there's going to be that one douchebag who pulls like nothing but merfolk or nothing but dinosaurs and somehow makes like a standard grade deck with like perfect tribal synergy. Happens every damn pre-release, and I'm sick of it. Honestly, at the ones past Friday night, they're probably just cheating and adding cards, just FYI. But you're probably going to get, 1/4 merfolk, 1/4 dinosaurs, 1/4 pirates, and 1/4 whatever's left. And you're not going to get any tribal synergy going whatsoever. So I would just give up on it and just go much more generic. I mean, if you can get some like 6-card interaction going, good for you. You might get 2 of those to see each other in one match. Probably not. But this is universally good. Now, it does say when it becomes unattached from a permanent, destroy that permanent. So just don't do that. But it comes out for 3, whatever, but equips for 1. And you're not going to move it much, so honestly, it's just plain an expensive card. But +2 in Menace, like, that's huge. They got to double block you, and they're probably going to lose both creatures, or they're going to take a gigantic hit. Those are their options. Such a good card. And if the creature gets destroyed, you just move this to the next one and continue on. This card is incredible. Next up, Curious Obsession. This one's not quite as good as the rest, but, it's an uncommon. It's fitting. Does cost 1, though. It's 1 blue, that's it. And you enchant a creature, and it has +1/+1, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. At the beginning of your end step, though, if you didn't attack with a creature this turn, sacrifice Curious Obsession. So make sure you can attack every turn, or just attack, get 4 free cards out of it, and then your 5th turn, oh no, they have something big. Maybe swing into it, maybe don't. I would probably just lose the Curious Obsession, just be forced to sacrifice it, and keep the creature. Otherwise, if you put it on like a Trampler or something, or it's going to be a trade, at least get a little bit of value out of it. But honestly, creatures on the board are more important than creatures, in the graveyard. The only good thing about this is you could draw, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards for 1 mana. I mean, duh, like this is incredible. And it's +1/+1, so, don't forget that. Card advantage is pretty important when everybody starts on a somewhat level playing field. So next up we got Direfleet Poisoner. Yeah, a lot of these are rare, it is what it is. This is a flash creature with Death Touch, so you can just send it in and block a 7/7, and there you go, you traded. And also, when it enters battlefield, target attacking pirate you control gets +1/+1 against Death Touch until end of turn. Okay, so that's never going to happen. But, you could do a 2-for-1 special in the middle of an attack. Not likely. What I like is that this is a 2-cost removal spell. Almost guaranteed. Unless the creature has Indestructible, which I don't think any do in this entire set, you're good to go. So yeah, 2 costs for an instant speed removal. Sure, all they have to do is swing at you, so you can't destroy anything that's sitting there just kind of doing something, but whatever, I'll take that drawback. It's still removal. And in the weird case that you had to swing with it, or you just want to turn the tides and, flash it in on their end step, and now you're swinging with more than they thought, and they overswung, and now you can swing for the win. I mean, there's some combat tricks you can do, other than treating this as an actual removal. Next up, Divine Verdict. This is obvious. It's a very overcosted, very overrated card, but it's, destroy target attacking or blocking creature of your choice. You target it. So yeah, it's 4, but at least it's an instant. So, I mean, you have to wait for them to swing too, so it's no deck in stone, but it's removal. Next up, Everdawn Champion. It is double white, so watch that, but I believe this is like... this isn't how you phrase a card. It's phrased like an activated ability, but without the 0:. So it's like it's a trait. It's like a description of the card. I don't even know what you would call this, but basically it can't receive combat damage ever. So the only way to destroy it is non-combat damage or exiling or whatever. So yeah, swing with it every single turn or block with it every single turn. It's basically a 0/100 wall, and it can't even be killed with Death Touch because, you prevent the damage. Lifelink doesn't work because it prevents the damage. I mean, this is just an amazing creature. It's just a 2/2. It's like whatever. And if they block it, you get nothing. So it's more like a defender, but it's still just a really good creature. It's basically indestructible. Next up, Galta Primal Hunter. I put this in here because, people tend to build up somewhat large lines of creatures because there's such limited removal in Sealed. So it costs X less, where X is the total power of creatures you control, not dinosaurs. It really probably should have said dinosaurs, let's be honest. A 12/12 Trampler is going to win the game, and you could probably bring this out for like 4 or 5 mana total in a normal game. So, yeah, I mean, 5 power. Oh, wait, no, 7 power total on the board. Yeah, you probably have 7 power. And if it's a standoff, now it isn't. You have a 12/12 Trampler. So this fits with anything. It doesn't have to be just a dinosaur deck, so just keep that in mind. Next up, Grasping Scoundrel, and this is a common. It's a 1 cost, and it has +1 as long as it's attacking. So you drop this out on turn 1, and it is a ticking time bomb. I won an entire match with Old Growth Dryads, which was a 3/3 for 1, and then it gave my opponent a land. And they just had bad draws, and every creature that they put in my way, I got rid of, pinned down, whatever, ambushed it, killed it, and I ended up winning the game solely with just that Old Growth Dryads. Something similar could happen with this. I mean, it's 2 damage on turn 2. Just don't underestimate that. Yeah, it's not the most amazing creature ever, but for the mana cost it is, and this is just a step on the gas early game card. Now, if it comes out late game, honestly not that great, but hopefully it shows up in your opening hand. Next up, Jade Light Ranger, another rare, unfortunately. It enters the battlefield, explores, then explores again. That's just good. I mean, this is good even if you don't have an explore deck and it doesn't, no cards say every time you explore blah, because you're either going to get 2 lands or 1 land or 0 lands, and if you get 0 lands, it's a 4/3 for 3. I mean, that's not bad. I don't like the double green because you're almost definitely going dual color, and that really locks you down. But it's still really good. I mean, if you accelerate that many lands past your opponent, you can outcast them, you can use abilities on the same turn that you summon creatures, and just whatever. So I would throw it in if you could use the ramp and you need a 3-cost creature. It wouldn't be my absolute first choice, but it's still pretty darn good. Also, it gets cards you don't need out of the way because of, like, pseudo scry effect. Remember, if it's not a land, you can graveyard it. Next up, Luminous Bonds. Enchant creature can't attack or block. The creature's basically gone. It could still use its abilities or whatever, and its triggers still go off, but Who cares? The creature's gone for 3. Removal, duh. Next up, Mist Cloaked Herald. It's a 1/1 unblockable for 1. I mean, it's kind of the same concept as before, except it always does 1 damage. It is absolutely not worth them, wasting a removal spell on this because it's a 1/1 for 1, but they're going to lose in 20 turns max. That's a fun little decision to put out there for everybody, so yeah, it's just good. I mean, it's subtle, but it's good. I wouldn't rely on the deck to win with just that, but it's good. Next up, Needletooth Raptor. This is crazy, guys. This is absolutely nuts. Okay, when it is dealt damage, it deals 5 damage to target creature an opponent controls. I wish it had more than 2 defense. Now, if you equip some kind of aura, some kind of boost, a temporary boost, a permanent boost, actual equipment, or whatever, you might be able to jack that up a little bit. In that case, you basically just won the game if they don't remove it, because 5 damage to a creature, that creature's gone. I mean, it is gone. And the other thing is, okay, somebody blocked it. It's still 2 damage. You can take out a 3/2 with it. Oh, but it was dealt damage. Boom, 5 damage to the guy next to him. I mean, that's almost like a 2-for-1 removal spell, and you get a creature out of it. So a creature plus removal is very, very, very good. And this is potentially recurring removal. Keep that in mind. Speaking of that, we got Ravenous Chupacabra. It is only a 2/2 for 4, so you better have aggressive, high attack power creatures to make up for this. But when it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature and opponent controls. Your choice. There's a removal spell that costs 4. That's all I really have to say about this. It is a removal spell for 4, except you get a 2/2 creature on top of it. So yeah, the card kind of sucks, but not really, because it's removal and you get a creature. Next up, I'm going to put it on here, the Immortal Sun. I mean, good luck getting to 6 mana, but it might happen eventually. This is a mythic. You're not going to pull it. But it shuts down Planeswalkers, which, I mean, if somebody's being an idiot and building their whole deck around one Planeswalker because they like it, or those colors were moderately playable so they went with it, Planeswalkers can be quite annoying. And then at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card. That's just called win the game. Spells you cast cost 1 less. That's just called win the game. And creatures you control get +1/+1. That's just called win the game. So play this and win the game. Next up, Thrashing Brontodon, an uncommon. I think, what do we have so far? 1 common? Anyway, double green. Don't love it. Lowers the playability, but it's a 3/4 for 3, so it's already a pretty good, like, on-curve creature, A lot of 3 cost is good, 2, 3, 4 is what you kind of want to target. It is fairly defensive while also having pretty good hitting power, but if you pay 1 and sacrifice it, you can destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Normally, you would have to put that in your sideboard and then actually bother to sideboard it if somebody's very heavily leaning on an enchantment or artifact. This guy, he's already out on the field doing damage. I mean, just look at the artwork. He's wrecking everything. But then if you really need to get rid of their, Immortal Sun, we'll say, ta-da, you pay 1, it's gone. I mean, yeah, you lose him, but it's better than losing the game, which is what you'd probably do if you were considering using this ability. So it's like a utility dinosaur, I guess, a Swiss Army dinosaur. Next up, yeah, it's a mythic. Good luck pulling it. But Trapjaw Tyrant. It's a 5/5 for 5, and it has Enrage. When it's dealt damage, exile target creature and opponent controls. It is until he leaves the battlefield, but as long as he doesn't, you just single-handedly won the game with him. I mean, it's recurring removal while also kind of forcing them to chump block. So it's almost like recurring double removal. I mean, it depends on the board state, but wow. And if you can manage to deal damage to him yourself, great. But I don't think anybody's going to quite get like an all-enrage deck going. It's possible, but it's, very unlikely to pull in your opening hand. Or I should say in your card pool, let alone your opening hand, in your card pool at all. That's what I meant to say. And finally, Water Knot. It's just straight up claustrophobia, or encrust, or whatever that card was. I want to say claustrophobia. The creature taps, it doesn't untap. That gets rid of most abilities, the ability to attack and block. It's just good. Yeah, it's double blue, who cares? It's blue removal. So if you're going blue, play this. So that's about it. You guys get it. Removal, double use creatures, useful stuff, recurring triggers. I mean, if you're going to end up top decking, you're going to want some recurring triggers, especially ones you don't have to pay for, or just really powerful abilities, anything that just goes off multiple times, anything like that. It's just value. You get value out of the card. The one thing I will say in general is, one, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 2 packs of Ixalan and 4 packs of Rivals in the pre-release, so you might get some cards that are really good that weren't mentioned, because you should already know what's in Rivals at this point, so watch for them too. And then secondly, just in general, you might have to defend against the 2 stupid cliches that people always do. One, all flyers. They just swing out and hope they can outdamage you, and they might have some controller stalls, some walls, some defenders, some death touchers on the ground just to kind of hold it off, but they'll be swinging for like 2 to 5 damage in the air every turn, which if it's 5, you're dead in 4 turns. So going all flyers or primarily flyers, if their pool supports it, is rough, but usually they have to do 3 colors to do it, which means they're going to get color screwed and they're going to end up mulliganing a ton, or they'll get stuck with cards in their hand, and it doesn't always work, but they usually do okay to pretty good at the pre-release if they do that. Hard to win that way, but it's so annoying to play against and lose to that kind of deck. So just watch out for it. I mean, that's why you really do need a lot of removal. And if you were on the fence between a flying creature and a ground creature, I would go flying just in case. And also sort all your flying creatures in your sideboard so that you can sideboard them in. And remember, your entire card pool is your sideboard. You can sideboard in anything else. Okay, that's the one stereotype. Number 2 is the rush guy who he tries to win in like the first 6, 7 turns with just the most aggressive, cheap 1, 2, 3 cost stuff. There is no, giant creatures, no expensive spells, nothing. It's just rush, rush, rush because, at the pre-release, it's sealed. People have slower decks. They have 4 cost, 5 cost cards. It's hard to get up to it. There's no artificial ramp. You didn't construct the deck purposely. It just is a deck that kind of happened. So because of that, I mean, if they can just outspeed you, there's nothing you can do. You'll lose with a bunch of 4 and 5 cost creatures in your hand, and that's it. So try to keep it as low cost as possible, but then again, somebody summons a 5 or 6 cost, and you have nothing to deal with it, you've got a problem. So if it backfires, there is no going back. So usually it'll be like Red Rush, kind of, with maybe like a little tiny bit of control, but usually it's just all in. It's just flood, rush, creature swarm, go. So watch out for that deck. Make sure that your deck isn't too slow, and don't do like a draw scry combo deck. They never work. They're too slow, and you'll have nothing on the field while you're sitting there casting like divination or whatever. Yeah, I know it's not even in the set. Or like a slow build up, or like a kind of tribal synergy, but only 1/4 of your deck is the tribal. It's too slow. It's too weak. It's gonna take forever to get going. I would choose just the best standalone low cost creatures with the highest attack or highest, triggered abilities or whatever, the most useful, and just completely and utterly ignore the tribal. Unless I'm looking at bare minimum 12 cards that are all synergistic on tribal. Bare minimum. Remember, in standard, it's meant to basically be 40. You could pick 40 Merfolk, throw them in a deck, and you've got a good deck, maybe. So if you're like, oh, I've got 10 Merfolk out of 40, yeah, 1 in 4 cards, that's like not even 2 cards in your opening hand will be Merfolk. And then by like turn 2, you might have another one, and then those 2 cards go together, and that's it. Merfolk are weak and pathetic on their own. So unless they're boosted, unless they have counters, you're going to go nowhere quick. So do not try for a tribal deck unless you've got one tribal just like staring you in the face, like daring you to build it. Speaking of tribals, in case you're wondering, because I was, and luckily they cleared this up with some beautiful artwork here, Merfolk are 2 color. They're, of course, green and blue. And then you look at, let's see, what's the next one? Pirates, they're 3 color. So you're actually more likely to be able to play pirates because they're just 3 color. I guess. I didn't actually count the number of pirates. They might have evened it out. I don't know. But they're blue, black, red. And then, let's see, the vampires are black, white. Black, white. These pictures are throwing me off. That's clearly purple. Who did this? In fact, that's yellow. What even is this? Anyway, so good luck getting them to work. And then dinosaurs, which there do seem to be a lot of dinosaur cards. Like I said, I didn't count them, but I think there's a lot. 3 colors. So if you were to get one to work, it's probably going to be pirates or dinosaurs, and dinosaurs are about double the power of pirates on average. Also, Enrage is really like a messed up combat trick. If you can get that to go off and you start drawing cards, gaining life, doing damage, firing off removal, cloning itself, whatever you want, yeah, Enrage looks pretty good. So if I were to try for one tribal, it would be that. But then again, dinosaurs don't even really have tribal boosts. I mean, besides making them cheaper because they're overcosted, great. Other than that, they just run Enrage. They don't really build on each other at all. I mean, there's ones that say, oh, it has whatever as long as you control another dinosaur. Just avoid those cards, and honestly, most of them are in Ixalan, not Rivals. So that's the most doable. I think going one of the dino colors would be pretty smart. If you can get white dinosaurs with vampires or lifelink, that's probably going to be just about your best bet. But Do not go into the pre-release with a preconceived notion of what you want to play. Don't just say, I'm going to play dinosaurs, and then you just look at your pool and make it happen. You should have a concept of what's good if you're curious, but other than that, look at your pool and build the most appropriate deck. Take absolutely nothing else into account other than your pool. If your card pool looks like you should play this because you've got the most support for that, then you have to do it. You cannot just say, I like pirates, I'm going pirates, and then build a deck with 7 pirates in it. Not a good idea. Also, if you get like 3 copies of the card that says all other merfolk get +1/+1, you're like, oh my god, merfolk boost tribal, I can't believe I pulled 3 of these. Oh my gosh. And then you have 4 other merfolk in your deck. Don't do it. It's a trap. Not only are you never going to pull them together, but just a +1, what is that? A +1 is nothing. I mean, a +1 is crap. You might as well just throw some equipment out there. That's a +1. +1 is not going to win you the game, and you're not just going to drop out booster, 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 merfolk, 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 okay? That's not going to happen. Remember, there's only 7 in your deck. So don't be misled by little hints at synergy. The only way you're going to pull off a tribal is if it's like just about like 15 to 20 cards, and then you could drop a couple weaker ones. I mean, it's going to have to be almost every card. And even then, don't just say, I've got a lot of pirates, but then you don't have anything that says, for every pirate, if you control a pirate, like the actual synergy cards. I've had so many people do that where they're like, I built a dinosaur deck. And I'm like, none of your dinosaurs interact with each other. You literally just put it in your deck so that you have a theme. But you could have dropped in anything else and it wouldn't have made an ounce of difference because not one of your cards say whatever, something about another dinosaur or just anything, or boost a dinosaur. Dinosaurs are cheaper. Nothing. There's nothing. You do not get bonus points for just matching the subtype. That it doesn't work that way. You have to actually have the boost along with the card support for it. That's why it's so impossible for it to show up in your actual pool. But if you go to like a pre-release with like 50 people, some jerk is going to have some flawless like pirate deck or something. It's just, that's luck. So watch out for that person. I have a feeling that although this looks really fun and very creature heavy, very combat manipulative without a bunch of controlling nonsense, just looks like straight up just brawler creature magic, I still feel like it's going to rely so heavily on card pools and just star cards that are like miles ahead of everything else that can just single-handedly dominate the game. Whoever pulls the most of them is going to win your tournament, and if your pool sucks, you have no chance in hell of winning. That's just what these sets look like to me, the whole block, especially this one. So it might not be the most fair pre-release, but still, pre-releases are fun. I still recommend you go. Just keep that in mind. Also, if you epically screw up your deck, you are allowed to change it between rounds permanently. Not rounds like between opponents, like not just between games, not just sideboarding. You can change your deck between rounds if you screwed something up or misread a card or accidentally only put in 8 creatures in a 40 card deck. I've done that. Yeah, the blue control was on point, but at a certain point you have to actually destroy your enemy. So that's all the tips I can give you. Hopefully it was a little rival specific. If you want generic pre-release tips, just type the word pre-release into my channel and you'll find those guides. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next video.